The cruiser's lights flickered against the wet asphalt. Officer James Carter parked at the edge of a quiet street, engine idling. A routine traffic stop, the call said. But something didn't feel right. The car in front of him sat too still, shadows moving inside. Carter's hand hovered near his holster, other hand on the bodycam switch. The red light blinked, recording every second. 8 minutes later, every decision he made would be questioned, every word he said scrutinized. The camera captured more than the stop. It captured a detainment that crossed the line, moments that no officer expected to be recorded. By the time the dash of internal affairs arrived, the footage would expose actions that couldn't be explained away. What started as routine ended as a trap, and the bodycam held the truth. Officer James Carter had been on the force for 6 years. He knew the procedures for every traffic stop, the protocols, the warnings, and the paperwork. That night, the dispatcher reported a routine violation. A car weaving slightly in the right lane, no other incidents nearby. Carter activated his lights and pulled the vehicle over on a quiet, rain-slicked street. He reached for his bodycam. The small red light blinked. Carter had learned to record every encounter. The camera caught not just the suspect, but every word, every movement, every reaction. Tonight, it would capture more than he anticipated. The driver rolled down the window. A young man, mid-20s, hands on the wheel, eyes wide. Carter approached cautiously, keeping his tone professional. "Evening. License and registration, please." The man handed over the documents, his hands trembling slightly. Carter scanned the papers, noticing the expiration dates. "Do you know why I stopped you?" he asked. I think I drifted a little," the driver replied. Carter nodded, keeping his posture neutral. He returned to the cruiser briefly to run a check on the license and vehicle. Nothing unusual appeared in the system. Carter glanced back at the driver and noticed a slight fidgeting, a glance toward the passenger seat. He walked back to the car, leaning slightly toward the driver's side. "Step out of the vehicle, please," he instructed, voice firm but controlled. The young man hesitated. "Am I being arrested?" "Not at this time," Carter said. "I need to ask a few questions." The driver complied, stepping out slowly. Carter kept his bodycam focused on him, capturing every movement. He noticed tension in the man's shoulders, the way he shifted his weight back and forth. Carter followed protocol, instructing him to keep his hands visible. As he asked routine questions, Carter noticed the man's answers were inconsistent. His tone changed with each reply, uncertainty creeping into his voice. The bodycam recorded it all. The hesitation, the nervous glance, the rapid breathing. Carter's instincts told him something was off, though nothing criminal appeared yet. The passenger door opened slightly, and a woman inside looked toward Carter. He instructed her to remain seated. She complied, hands gripping the dashboard. Carter continued questioning the driver, asking about recent travels, destinations, and purposes for being on the road at that hour. Minutes passed. Carter maintained a professional stance, following procedure carefully. The bodycam recorded every question, every pause, every glance. He requested backup when his instincts told him the situation might escalate. While waiting, Carter conducted a vehicle search. No weapons, no illegal substances. The bodycam captured each methodical step. Flashlight scanning the interior, careful inspection of compartments, and verification of items inside. Backup arrived shortly. Officer Ramirez took position near the passenger side while Carter continued the interaction. He asked the driver if he would consent to a pat-down, explaining the reason clearly. The driver reluctantly agreed. Carter proceeded, noting each movement. The bodycam caught the pat-down in detail, showing compliance, minor resistance, and Carter's measured responses. After finishing, Carter explained the next steps. He instructed the driver to sit on the curb temporarily while he completed paperwork and consulted with dispatch. The driver complied. Carter recorded the entire procedure, ensuring transparency. When he returned to the cruiser, dispatch relayed a concern. The driver had a prior complaint on record regarding detainment. Carter noted it but continued following proper steps. He contacted his supervisor to report the situation and get guidance. By the time the stop concluded, Carter had gathered statements, documented all actions, and ensured the body cam recorded every detail. What appeared to be a routine traffic stop had escalated into a situation where detainment procedures, compliance, and careful observation mattered more than ever. Carter reviewed the footage briefly in the cruiser. Everything matched his memory. The driver complied, the procedure was correct, and the interaction was lawful. Yet the awareness that the body cam would record every angle, every word, and every movement weighed on him. He understood that what seemed minor in real time could appear different to internal affairs. The stop ended. The driver was released after verification of all information, and the officers returned to the cruiser. Carter deactivated the emergency lights, driving back toward the precinct. The rain continued, light on the windshield mirroring the unease he felt. The body cam blinked in his peripheral vision, a small red light recording every second, keeping a neutral record that could interpret his actions as easily as any observer could. He returned to the precinct, logging the incident and securing the body cam. The 8 minutes captured would hold the truth, but Carter realized that IA would analyze every movement. Every pause, every glance, every instruction had been recorded. What was routine for him could be seen differently through the lens of scrutiny. The badge symbolized authority. The body cam symbolized accountability. Carter understood that the balance between the two would define what came next. The routine traffic stop had ended, but the real story was only beginning. Officer James Carter returned to the precinct the next morning, aware that the routine stop was no longer routine. Internal Affairs had requested a full review. The call was formal, brief, report immediately with all documentation and body cam footage. Carter understood the significance. The 8 minutes recorded during the stop would now determine perception, accountability, and possibly the trajectory of his career. He entered the station. Uniform pressed, badge in place, body cam secured in its case. Fellow officers glanced at him, some nodding, others avoiding eye contact. Carter walked past them in silence, heading straight to the evidence review room. The room was sterile. White walls and fluorescent lights highlighting a large monitor and rows of server terminals. Lieutenant Calloway and Sergeant Price were waiting. Their expressions were neutral, professional. Carter placed the body cam on the table, the red recording light blinking steadily. "Officer Carter," Calloway began, "we have reviewed the initial reports. We need you to explain the events during the stop, step by step. Discrepancies have been noted between your report and the video timestamps." Carter remained calm. All actions were captured on the body cam. Every instruction, every movement, every pause is documented. I followed protocol at all times. Price pressed a button on the monitor. The footage filled the screen. Carter watched as the 8 minutes unfolded. The driver's movements, his own approach, the request to step out, the pat-down, all recorded in detail. Carter noticed how minor angles and reflections could alter perception. "Explain this," Calloway said, pausing at a frame showing Carter's hand near the driver's waist. Carter explained clearly. It was a standard pat-down for officer safety, consented to verbally by the driver. Each detail aligned with procedure. The body cam captured compliance, not aggression. Price continued. "The complaint filed by the driver indicates he felt detained illegally. How do you respond?" Carter replied, "At no point was the driver prevented from leaving outside of standard procedural detainment. The stop was lawful, conducted according to state regulations, and documented on video." Calloway leaned back. "We will submit your statement and the video for further review. Until then, you are suspended from field duties. You may continue administrative tasks." Carter's stomach tightened. Suspension wasn't a judgment, but it was a reminder that procedure and perception were distinct. 8 minutes of footage, while clear, could be interpreted differently. Back at his desk, Carter reviewed the footage frame by frame. He noted timestamps, cross-referencing his report with the video. Every movement, every command, every reaction had a timestamp. Each sequence aligned with his recollection. Yet he realized that IA's focus would be on interpretation, not accuracy alone. Officer Riley stopped by, bringing additional witness statements. I observed the stop from the passenger side of the street, Riley said. Everything was by the book. I can corroborate your actions if needed. Carter nodded, grateful for the support. Witness statements would strengthen his case. He organized all documents, aligning timestamps, statements, and footage. Later, he was summoned to a conference room for further questioning. Calloway and Price reviewed critical moments. Carter explained each action, detailing his reasoning. They examined the request for the driver to step out, the instructions given, the pat-down, and the compliance checks. After 2 hours, Carter returned to his office, the weight of scrutiny heavy on his shoulders. The badge offered authority, but the camera ensured transparency. He realized that 8 minutes recorded objectively could be interpreted subjectively. The balance between the two would decide the outcome. Carter reviewed his notes again, preparing for the next IA session. Every command, every pause, every step had been documented. Every action aligned with procedure. Yet he remained aware that IA would dissect each detail, evaluating perception, context, and appearance. He contacted the union representative, submitting the Bodycam file, witness statements, and his detailed report. The representative confirmed the integrity of the evidence and reminded him to remain available for questioning. Carter acknowledged. By evening, Carter sat quietly in his office. The 8 minutes replayed in his mind. Every interaction, every instruction, every subtle movement recorded. He understood the implications. Perception could overshadow truth, and IA would scrutinize every frame. He prepared for the next meeting, reviewing every detail, noting potential questions, and reinforcing his awareness that the footage could be used either to support or challenge his account. The routine stop had become a matter of accountability. 8 minutes of Bodycam footage had transformed a standard procedure into a critical review. Carter knew the days ahead would test procedure, perception, and the truth. Officer James Carter returned to the precinct early the next morning. The rain had stopped, leaving streets wet and reflective. Every step toward the building reminded him of the pending internal affairs review. The Bodycam from the traffic stop sat secured in his case, blinking its red light. 8 minutes of footage had become the center of attention, and Carter understood that IA would examine every frame. Lieutenant Calloway and Sergeant Price were waiting in the conference room. Carter entered and placed the Bodycam on the table. "We'll review the stop frame by frame," Calloway said. "We need explanations for every action, every pause, every instruction." Carter nodded. All actions followed procedure. The Bodycam provides an objective record. Calloway pressed play. The footage displayed the traffic stop in real time. Carter watched closely. Each moment aligned with his memory. The initial approach, the request for license and registration, the driver stepping out, the pat-down, and the placement on the curb. He noticed how angles and reflections could distort perception, making compliant movements appear aggressive. "Explain this sequence," Price said, pausing at a frame showing Carter moving toward the driver's waist during the pat-down. "This is a standard pat-down for officer safety," Carter responded. "The driver consented verbally. My hand placement was controlled and precautionary. The Bodycam shows compliance, not aggression." Calloway nodded, noting the explanation. "The driver filed a complaint claiming illegal detainment. How do you justify the procedural steps taken?" Carter spoke calmly, outlining the step-by-step protocol. He detailed the approach, questioning, verification of documentation, and compliance checks. At no point was the driver prevented from leaving outside the scope of standard procedure. Everything was documented and lawful. Price scrolled through dispatch logs and cross-referenced them with the video timestamps. Carter confirmed each action. 8 minutes of footage, each second accounted for. After the initial review, Carter was allowed to present supporting documentation. Officer Riley, present during the stop, corroborated Carter's actions. The dispatch logs verified the timeline. Security footage from nearby cameras matched the Bodycam angles. Every piece of evidence aligned. Yet Carter knew the focus would remain on perception. The camera captured reality, but IA could interpret it differently. A slight adjustment of posture, a pause, a glance could be construed as unnecessary force. 8 minutes of objective recording carried subjective weight in the eyes of oversight. Calloway and Price scrutinized details, the time taken to ask questions, the tone of commands, and hand placement during the pat-down. Carter explained each element, connecting movements to standard operating procedure. He remained professional, precise, and calm. The meeting lasted several hours. Carter's explanation matched the footage and documentation perfectly. Witness statements confirmed the account. Yet the intensity of IA's review underscored the power of perception over procedure. When the session ended, Carter returned to his office. He reviewed the footage independently, focusing on the smallest details. 8 minutes of recording captured the truth, but he recognized how easily it could be manipulated if someone presented altered interpretations. He contacted his union representative to ensure backup copies were stored securely off-site. The representative confirmed the integrity of the files and advised Carter to remain available for further questioning. Carter followed instructions, understanding that evidence preservation was crucial. Later, he met Officer Riley in a quiet part of the precinct. Together, they reviewed the bodycam, security footage, and dispatch logs again. Riley noted alignment in all recordings, confirming no procedural errors. Carter recorded their discussion as an additional layer of documentation. By the end of the day, Carter had constructed a comprehensive record. Bodycam footage, timestamps, witness statements, dispatch logs, and cross-referenced security footage. 8 minutes of recorded action had become a full dossier supporting procedural compliance. Yet Carter remained aware that IA would focus on interpretation. Every pause, every glance, every hand movement could be examined and questioned. The badge represented authority, but the bodycam represented accountability. 8 minutes could determine perception, influence judgment, and shape careers. As Carter left the precinct, night had fallen. The streets glistened under the streetlights. He carried the weight of responsibility, evidence, and scrutiny. The traffic stop that began as routine had transformed into an intricate review of procedure, compliance, and perception. 8 minutes of bodycam footage had captured everything. The scrutiny had begun, and Carter understood that only meticulous documentation, corroboration, and clear procedure could protect him from misinterpretation. The next steps would define the outcome. 8 minutes of recorded truth had become the defining element of his career. Officer James Carter returned to the precinct for the final internal affairs review. The tension in the air was palpable. The bodycam footage from the traffic stop had been scrutinized repeatedly, cross-referenced with dispatch logs, witness statements, and nearby security cameras. 8 minutes of video had become the focal point of the investigation, and Carter knew the outcome rested on objective documentation and corroboration. Lieutenant Calloway and Sergeant Price were seated at the head of the table. Carter placed the bodycam on the table, its red light blinking steadily. The footage had been reviewed by multiple parties, yet IA insisted on a final explanation. Officer Carter, Calloway began, "We've examined all materials, including witness accounts and cross-referenced video. The driver filed a complaint alleging illegal detainment. Please summarize your actions during the stop." Carter took a deep breath. He recounted each step in detail, the initial pullover, requesting license and registration, asking the driver to step out, conducting the pat-down, placing the driver on the curb, and maintaining communication throughout. He emphasized compliance with protocol at every stage. Price paused the footage at a critical frame. Carter explained his hand placement during the pat-down, why the driver was asked to step out, and the reasoning behind each command. The camera captured the driver's compliance, the careful movements, and Carter's measured responses. Calloway reviewed the evidence silently, then spoke. "We have multiple corroborating sources confirming your account. Dispatch logs, witness statements, and adjacent security cameras all match your recorded actions. The bodycam shows no unlawful detainment." Carter remained composed. The footage documents every moment. Procedure was followed. Compliance was maintained. The driver was never prevented from leaving outside standard protocol. Price nodded. Internal Affairs concludes the stop was lawful. No disciplinary action will be taken. Your suspension is lifted, and you are cleared of all allegations. Carter exhaled, relief washing over him. The 8 minutes recorded on his body cam had defended his actions, verified by multiple sources. The badge he wore had symbolized authority, but the camera had ensured accountability. He gathered his belongings, leaving the IA office with a renewed sense of confidence. Fellow officers gave cautious nods as he passed through the precinct, aware that the case had been scrutinized thoroughly. Later, Carter reviewed the backup copies of the footage, ensuring they were stored securely off-site. He contacted Officer Riley and thanked him for his corroboration, recognizing the importance of witness support. The dispatch logs and security camera files were also archived in multiple secure locations. With the investigation concluded, Carter created a step-by-step guide for officers on bodycam security, proper procedure during traffic stops, and methods to protect recorded evidence. He titled it Securing the Truth: Bodycam Protocols for Officers. The guide included instructions for securing footage, documenting every action, and ensuring transparency during encounters. He distributed the guide internally and made it available to law enforcement nationwide. Carter knew that 8 minutes of footage could determine careers, and his goal was to help others avoid unnecessary risk. The guide provided officers with a reliable resource to maintain accountability and protect themselves against misinterpretation or false complaints. That night, Carter sat at his desk, the body cam blinking softly beside him. The routine traffic stop that had escalated into an internal affairs review was now a case study in accountability. The footage had captured the truth, and careful documentation had ensured justice. The city streets outside glistened with rain. Carter reflected on the importance of procedure, transparency, and preparation. 8 minutes of recording had been enough to uphold his integrity, preserve his career, and highlight the necessity of bodycam accountability. He closed his laptop after uploading the guide, ensuring it was accessible to officers nationwide. Every movement, every action, every instruction recorded by the bodycam had made a difference. The badge had symbolized authority, but the footage had guaranteed accountability. Carter understood that the 8 minutes of bodycam footage would remain a critical resource for officers facing scrutiny. He had secured evidence, witnesses, and proper procedure, creating a template to prevent future disputes. The guide, free and accessible, ensured transparency and protection for those following the same protocols. The stop had started as routine, escalated into scrutiny, and concluded with vindication. The badge remained, the body cam remained, and the 8 minutes that captured every moment had secured both truth and justice. Carter leaned back in his chair, satisfied. The next video would tell a new story, but the lessons learned from this one, preparation, accountability, and securing evidence, would remain invaluable to every officer who followed the proper procedures and trusted the camera to record the truth.